Hey guys, it's Karen from A Yarn Tale. I'm coming to you from Chicago, where I live with my husband, our 3 kids, and our dog Max. This is a knitting podcast where I talk about whatever I'm working on, things I want to work on, and things that I probably should be working on but haven't gotten around to yet. If you're new, welcome, and if you're a returning viewer, welcome back. So I'm trying to update a little bit more frequently because I realize if I wait too long that I get all weird and in my head about what I have to show and if it's enough, and I try to frantically knit things, and then before I know it, a month has gone by and I haven't said anything. So it's just easier if I just bite the bullet and update more frequently, and if they happen to be shorter episodes, oh well. So I hope you guys are doing well. I guess we can talk about what I'm wearing. This is the Ghost Whisperer top by Park Williams. It is knit out of mohair. I don't remember which mohair this is. I was planning on using Filcolana Atelier, but then I found a different mohair in my local yarn store and I don't remember the name of it. That's not very good, is it? Well, anyway, this is it. And I finally, after much debate, realized that it looks better with a sort of matching-ish tank top underneath. That way it doesn't look that weird and it's a little bit more conservative and I can get more wear out of it. It's a little cropped, but I did add a ton of length, if you can believe it. It's more of like a, I don't know, the way it's written is more of like a half shirt. But I can't swing that. So I added a bunch of length and now it's just kind of a floaty crop, which I really like. It has these puff sleeves, which were not at all difficult to do. And once you get used to the slippery, slidey mohair, it is a pretty easy knit. So that's this. I do have one finished object and it's a big one. I'm not gonna put it on because it is 1,000 degrees and it is a mohair sweater. But this is the Spot Sweater by Ventzel. It is all over colorwork. I've talked about it a lot on the channel, so sorry if I'm repeating myself, but it's knit out of 3 strands of mohair. I actually have it, hang on. Okay, it's knit out of 3 strands of mohair. I have an entirely unopened ball for each of them because I always just frantically overbuy yarn because I'm terrified of yarn chicken. Woo. So these are the 3 colors. The labels only have numbers on them, but there were in fact colorways online when I ordered. It's like latte and then this yellowy one and this off-white, and they combine to make this really nice neutral background. And then the contrast color is 1 strand of fingering weight 100% wool, also by Filcolana Pernia, and I believe the colorway is nutmeg. So it's all over colorwork, and then you pick up for the collar and knit the sleeves, and then there's a little bit of ribbing. Sorry, I didn't block it yet. I wove in the ends, so these are all woven in, but I didn't trim the ends yet because I haven't washed it yet. So I usually like to wash it first, and then just in case they wheedle out while I'm washing it, then I'll trim them. So there's a little bit of ribbing at the cuff, and then there's also a little bit of ribbing at the hem, and my hem is really weird and flippy right now. I don't know if you can see. When you have it on, it almost does this weird peplum thing. I'm not gonna put it on because it is 85 degrees outside, and this sweater is probably the warmest thing I've ever knit. So I'm hoping that this flippy hem fixes itself when I block it. I think it will. I knit a cardigan, hang on, which I have right here. I have it right here. Okay, I knit the Copenhagen cardigan by PetiteKnit. Here, I can put this on. Why is knitwear so warm? Okay, I knit the Copenhagen cardigan a long time ago, last summer, and this hem was super flippy when I knit it. It was flipping, it wouldn't even, the spot sweater is more it's flipping out, but it's not all the way up. Well, here it is, but when you wear it, it's more like this. And the Copenhagen cardigan was flipping up, and there was nothing I could do to get it to lay flat until I blocked it. And now it is a reformed, it is totally reformed, and it has behaved wonderfully. So I'm hoping that the same thing happens with the spot sweater. I would highly recommend this pattern. The beginning of the pattern is really awful. The cast on and the first setup is knit flat, color work back and forth, which is terrible. But it's only a few rows long. So if you can power through and do that, and just hang in there, then it actually becomes really enjoyable. And you're just knitting this really repetitive colorwork pattern in the round. And the mohair, although mohair is like kind of a pain to work with, 3 strands of mohair together kind of just calms it down. It's super fluffy, but it's not, it sort of acts like a larger, a heavier weight yarn. And so it's not that bad. And the fluff of the mohair hides a multitude of sins. So I am not that great at colorwork. My tension is always a little bit wonky, but with the mohair, like, you really can't see it. I think it looks good. So I don't know. I think this is cool. And really the way that the raglan lines up, I just can't stop looking at. It's so pretty. I didn't do that. Ann Ventzel is just such an accomplished knitter and pattern writer, and she has really amazing complex ideas, and I love it. So I can't wait to wear it. It's gonna be a few months because, like I said, it is toasty here in Chicago, but I'm excited to have one big finished object off the needles. So that's it for finished objects. I don't really have anything else. I have a couple of whips, but honestly, I'm getting down to the very end, which means I can cast some stuff on. So that's pretty exciting. But I do have a couple whips. I am still working on my scrap blanket. I know it's not very exciting to be like, look, I put a couple rows on my blanket. But I did put a couple rows on my blanket. Okay, so this is it. I don't think I'm that much further than the last time. This is like my TV knitting, because truly it's like completely mindless. It's garter back and forth. This is the Excavation blanket by Hypnotizer. It is free. It's just garter stripes back and forth in fingering weight, and you knot off the ends at the side. So it'll make this fringe. The fringe won't be that long because I'm gonna trim it, but you get the idea. I'm a little bit worried that I'm gonna run out of scraps. I have a lot. This is my bag of fingering weight scraps, but I don't think I have enough for the entire blanket. So there is a really substantial chance that it's gonna totally change color palettes by the end. I don't know, it's a scrap blanket. So if it looks scrappy, you can't really say you're surprised. So that is actually really nice. But it's more of a long-term project. So it's not something that I'm like dedicating a lot of time to do. I just sort of do it here and there, which means I'm probably going to be working on it until 2025. But, it does make me feel really virtuous to use up my fingering weight scraps. Anytime I get down to like the very, very end of it, like, wait, there's one that's almost done. Like, check this out. This was from my Pihota shawl. And there's just the tiniest bit of pink left. I think this was a Movers and Makers color, although I can't remember the name of it. And in fact, it is so small that I don't think it can make it down and back for a stripe. So I'm gonna have to save it until the blanket narrows down again. But I love when they get like this because like, it's working. I'm using up the scraps. Finally, because my scraps were really stressing me out because they just kept coming. They kept coming in. They were never getting used up. So now at least I have some sort of place to put them so that I don't feel like, 20 years from now, I'm going to be moving into assisted living and I'm going to have an entire spare bedroom worth of fingering weight scraps. Hopefully we won't get to that point. So that is one whip. And then my other one, it's like really not exciting. I cast it on yesterday, so there's not much to see. It's gonna be fingerless mitts, which usually I'm like, fingerless mitts, who even wears those? I've never made mitts before. I've made mittens because I'm always freezing in the winter, but these are, what are they called? They're free, and they're called Vancouver Fog by Jen Balfour. It's a free pattern. They're worsted weight, and there's a cable pattern running down the front. I have just started the cabling, and of course I'm using navy yarn, so you cannot see it. Of course, right? But I'll put a picture up here of what they're supposed to look like, and I liked it because they're really long. Oh, you can make them really long. So I'm just gonna do a bunch of pattern repeats. I have this skein of worsted weight yarn that I overdyed. And you remember when I did that avocado dyeing? Well, this is that skein. I tried to dye it some other color and it just was weird. I don't know, it was just like not anything that anyone would want to use. So I was like, fine, I'm just gonna make it navy because that will cover everything. So it's actually, I love it. It's really like multidimensional and tonal, but it's definitely navy and it doesn't look at all gross and avocado-y. So I'm just gonna use that up with these fingerless mitts and see how it goes. I mean, okay, so I cast it on and then I was like, well, shoot, my winter coat is black. So I'm gonna have like black coat and navy mitts, but like, who cares, right? Who cares? The good thing about the Midwest in the wintertime is that much as people may try, your winter wear is really not a fashion statement. It is survival, right? So you buy the big puff coat that goes down to your ankles and makes you look like the Michelin Man because it's freezing out there. And when you're waiting for the train on the platform and the wind is coming off the lake, I mean, no one's looking at what you're wearing because they're just trying to keep their head down and make it to work alive. So I'll let you know how those go. I do like how it's knitting up. And I do think that the color looks intentional, despite the fact that it was dye number 3. But it doesn't look like it, right? So hopefully I'll have a good pair of mitts at the end. And you guys, that's it for whips, if you can believe it. I have been thinking about what I want to cast on. I'm thinking about some projects that I want to frog, and I can talk about one of those. So I don't know if you remember, a few months ago, or maybe more than that, probably more than that, I cast on the Woodblock tee by Greene. I'm gonna show it here, but I'll also, I might pop in a picture in color so you can see a little bit better. I love this pattern. It's like ribbing all over. It's really hard to see with the glare on the ink, but it's like ribbing on the bottom. This is knit from the bottom up. Really? Okay. This is the bottom, the hem, knit from the bottom up, and then the ribbing pattern changes and it makes this triangular pattern as you get closer to the bust line, which is kind of hard to see. There, you can see a little bit there. It makes this beautiful triangular pattern. Just in variations of the knits and purls. And I love it. It's short sleeve and I believe it's supposed to be a DK. Wait a minute, is it? I don't even know. It's been a while since I looked at this. Is it? 28 stitches over 4 inches. Is that DK? I don't know. I wish people would put it in there because I always get confused about what is what. I have to look it up every time. But in any case, the yarn and the pattern for me are just like a mismatch. I initially swatched and cast on, here's my swatch in the bag. And I did, I think, 2 swatches. I like the fabric, so I thought I'd be okay with that. This is, hang on, let me grab this skein. Okay, I swatched and cast on in Sandnesgaard Tyne Lina Thin Line, which is their linen blend, I think. And of course, this is gonna be not in English. Oh yeah, here it is. It's 53% cotton, 33% viscose, and 14% linen. I have used the larger gauge Lina from Sandnesgaard for my PetiteKnit Anchor Summer Tee, which was really awful to knit with because it's just really splitty. But then if you can power through, the finished object is lovely. It like gets softer and drapier with each wash, and I got a ton of wear out of it. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna use this. The problem is, when I swatched, I just could not get gauge. I swatched a lot, and it was too many stitches per inch, and I went down so many needle sizes, and it just wasn't getting there. And I was like, you know what? The pattern has kind of 2 looks. These are, of course, both the same look. So you're not gonna be able to get, oh, here you go. Okay, so some of the, I wanna make sure I'm not giving anything away. No, that's just the overview. So this is the Woodblock tee, and Some of the sample pictures are knit with just a little bit of positive ease, like this one here. But some of them have a ton of positive ease. Let me see if I can find a picture of that. Some of them are like really, really wide. And these still look good. Okay, yeah, like this one. Okay, can I show it without showing the pattern? Probably not. We'll put it down there. Okay, so in this picture, she is wearing a short sleeve shirt that is just super wide and has a ton of positive ease. So my first thought was, well, I'll just use the yarn and knit it to that, you know, sort of larger size that would give me a ton of positive ease. I mean, if I knit the extra small, that's what it would come out to. But the more I look at it, this is like enormous. I mean, it's hard to tell because I have it on a really short cord, and actually I stole the needles for something else. So I'm definitely not working on it. But the more I worked on it, the more I was like, I just don't think I'm gonna wear a short sleeve tee that has that much positive ease. So I would hate, and it's kind of a slow knit because it's ribbing everywhere. So you're like, knit this, purl this, bring the yarn to the front, bring the yarn to the back, blah. So I didn't want to put in hours and hours and hours for something that I just was not convinced I was even gonna wear. So I think I'm gonna frog this one and save the yarn for some other tee, because it is good yarn and something that I would actually wear and use. So if you have any summer tees that you really like, you know, pop them in the comments because I'm always up for a good one. I was thinking, again, I've been thinking about this for like 2 years, but I was thinking of making a Shakerag tee, which is, who wrote that? Amy Christoffers, I think. If not, I'll put it down below. But it's a horizontal stripe tee where it's a DK weight because basically you hold 2 light fingering strands together, and then for one stripe, and then the other stripe is just a single strand, and then you go back to the 2 strands and a single strand, and so you make stripes just by the variation in gauge. And it doesn't seem that bad. I don't know if I have enough yarn though. I think I might be a ball short, so maybe that will put a wrench in my plans. I don't know. So I got to figure out a summer tee. I watched the Little Monkeys and Me podcast with Fernanda and Ruth Loves to Knit with Ruth, and they once again are hosting a shawl knit along. Last year they had the Over the Pond shawl cal, and I knit something for it, but of course I didn't finish. That's like the bane of my existence. I'm always like, yeah, knit alongs, and then I get 3/4 of the way through and I'm a super slow knitter and I get distracted by all my shiny whips, and so whatever shawl I was knitting on, I did not finish for that, but this time I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. I was thinking of picking just a single skein project because I tend to wear my shawls kind of tucked under a jacket, more just around my neck as kind of a scarf. And so if I make a smaller shawl, like a shawlette, or a single skein project that sort of stretches the yarn in some way, then it's a little bit more wearable for me. Because I have some large shawls that I just, like, what do you even do with those? I don't know. I like making them and I like looking at them, but I never reach for them when I'm actually getting dressed. So I'm gonna try to pick out some shawls for that, or a shawl for that, and cast on, because I forget the cast on date, but I think it goes through the end of the summer. So that is in the works. And then what I have really been spending a ton of time on is dyeing yarn. So I talked about it a little bit last time, but I've kind of gone off the deep end a little bit. So I have this one that I over dyed, and then I'm not gonna show the same ones that I did the last time, but I dyed up a couple of DK skeins. These two are like they're lighter than the worsted weight. Hang on, I'll get it for comparison. So first I dyed up this worsted weight one, which I love. This is non-superwash wool. And I tried to replicate it on the DK skeins, but I think I did something different because that's substantially lighter. I still like it. There's a lot of variation in there. There's like some dark spots and some light spots. And these two, you know, are really comparable. But I got this going on, and then I tried tried 2 other variations. This I love, actually. This is a gray color, and I don't know how well it's gonna show up on camera, but there are like reddish tones and blue tones in there. So this is a gray DK, which actually looks pretty good together. Maybe I'll do something with that. I don't know. Okay, so this, and then I was trying to get like a mossy green, which I kind of did. There is some reddish tones in there and some deeper tones as well. But all in all, it's kind of a mossy green type scenario. So I got 4 skeins of DK, which is kind of, these are colors that I would definitely gravitate to. And then I kind of just went bonkers. I wanted to make my daughters hats because my girls do wear hats in the wintertime. And if I knit them for them, they definitely get a lot of use out of them. And whatever hats they were wearing last year are lost or dead, or who even knows. They're like no longer good. So we're starting from scratch. So I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna dye something up for them and knit it. So I got some bulky yarn, and my girls like different colors than I do, shocker. They're 6 and 7, and they like stuff to be really bright. They like stuff to be really sort of in your face. And so I tried to dye a bulky gradient. So this side is almost like a navy blue, really deep blue, and then it goes into these purpley tones, and then it ends, I mean, it's hard to tell because it's skeined up, but it ends in this light blue. So this is 100% superwash bulky weight yarn, because I figured I could just whip up some hats and they would like them, right? Because anything that I see that I'm like, ooh, that's a little bit much, they're like, yes, because when you're 6, more is more. I mean, no need to be subtle. So I got this, and then I did another one, although this one I caked up, so it's really hard to see the gradient, but it's really similar to the last, except it's more purpley. So the interior, it looks like there's like none of it, but it's actually in proportion the same amount of really deep color as the dark portion of this. So there's like a really deep bluish purple in there, and then it sort of graduates out to this light blue color. Although there's a lot of purple in there. So I don't know, we're gonna see how this knits up. I mean, you can't go wrong, because truly the wilder the better when you're in elementary school. So those are for hats. In case you can't tell, I have a lot of yarn. So in an effort to save myself, I have put some of it up on Etsy just because I don't know any knitters in real life. I mean, I know my friend's mom knits, but I don't see her very often, and I don't feel very comfortable being like, hey, we talked 2 times. Do you want like tons of, do you want this yarn? So I put some of it up on Etsy because I just need to I want to dye more yarn, but again, if all the yarn is coming in and none of it's going out, we're gonna have a situation, we're gonna have like a hoarders type situation really soon. So if you are interested in yarn, check out the Etsy shop. I'll put the link below, and it's not very organized. I don't have set colorways, and I don't have sort of an update schedule or any of that. It's just whenever I dye something, I'll pop it in there. So there's like a few that get added every week or every day. And that way, if anybody's interested, you can pop on over and see what there is. So that's kind of it for the knitting, which doesn't feel like a lot, but I swear I did a lot of knitting. I don't know how these podcasters have tons of stuff going on, but what can you do? Oh, I got a ball winder, which I had been putting off getting a ball winder for 2 years. I got a Swift not too long ago, maybe last year. And I was like, Swifts are fine, but I like to hand wind my balls because I would prefer to knit from a ball than a cake, which is true. Because when I knit from a cake, I tend to get a lot of twist in the yarn. I don't know if I'm doing it wrong or what, but I had checked myself into a corner saying I don't need a ball winder. Why? Do you ever just fall into these positions and then instead of revising what you're thinking, you just kind of dig in and you're like, I'm not that kind of person. No, no ball winder. But then I really wanted to, dye yarn in these gradients, and it's helpful if you can make them into a cake. So I was like, all right, I'll get one. And you guys, I love it. It's not even that expensive. It was like $30. And now I just want to cake up all the yarn. I know you're not supposed to, because you're supposed to cake the yarn right before you use it. So I have been full of restraint. But it is so much better. If you are on the fence about getting a ball winder, just do it. It's really not that bad. So, and my kids love it because it's one of the crank ones. So they can participate in a way that is appropriate. Okay, so I had a question. So I know I had said I wanted to do virtual meetups during the knit along, and I just totally dropped the ball and didn't set it up. At the time of the knit along, things were really busy here. But now that it's summer and 2 of my kids are at summer camp, it's actually really quiet, and I have a little bit extra time just to do more things. So if you'd be up for a virtual knit along, let me know. I was thinking of something the weekend of July 16th. Usually Sundays are best for me because I really don't have much going on. So maybe July 17th. If you are around or available or interested, I will put a time out, or maybe 2 times. I don't know if like morning or evening is better. We're pretty loosey-goosey here. We don't have a lot going on that day anyway. So maybe we could meet up for a virtual Zoom knit chat just to say hi and see what's going on. I know that the ladies over at 3Ply are doing an in-person meetup in Hoffman Estates, which I have to get to the bottom of. I know it's at the end of July. But sometimes going somewhere on a weekend is really tricky for me because my kids are all here and it's hard to know what to do with them. So I don't know if that's gonna work out for me. I'm gonna try and see if I can pop over and say hello, but I don't know. And then my other question is Stitches Midwest happening this year? I started knitting right before the pandemic. So I saw that there would have been a Stitches Midwest in Schaumburg, which is not that far from me, in 2020, but of course it was canceled. And since then it's been kind of a virtual event, but some of the other Stitches events are happening. Like I know Stitches in Southern California and Stitches West are things that are going forward. So I was sort of wondering, like, is there a Stitches Midwest? Is it in person? Is it happening? Because I would love to go. I know in the past it's been in August, and August is a pretty good time for me. So if you know anything about that, let me know. I tried to look online, and the event location said that it might be happening online. It looked like it might be happening, but then the Stitches website didn't mention it at all. So that made me think probably not. I don't know. I would really like to go because I've never been to a fiber festival. I mean, before I started knitting, I didn't know fiber festivals were even a thing. So I would love to go now that I can enjoy it and appreciate it, although I'd have to figure out who to drag with me. I don't know. That is the tricky part of not knowing knitters in real life. I'd have to either make one of my friends go, or I don't know how that would go, or try to meet up with some of the other Chicago podcasters and strong arm them into being my friend. I don't know. It's so awkward. So anyway, if you know anything about Stitches Midwest, let me know. And that's that. I hope you're doing well. Thank you so much for watching and spending some time with me. I would love to hear what you're working on or what's going on with you. I hope you are hanging in there. This is kind of, these are some difficult times, especially if you're in the States. A lot of crazy things are going on here with, violence and political protests and just really, really difficult times. So, take care of yourself and take some time for yourself. And if you need to step away from the news, that's totally okay. And, we're going to get through it. So thank you so much for spending some time with me. And I wish you all the best. And I hope to hear from you soon. Happy knitting. I have never